Next up is our equipment committee report for Jerry Moody.
We got 2 trucks, the new Ford, we're waiting on parts. International waiting on parts and mechanic. The van is ready for the corner, but the gentleman that's in charge, Gary, is having a lot of medical problems, and he's the only one in the fleet division. And as soon as he can get in, we'll get the van. I've got the check, and I keep waiting for a phone call from him. And he doesn't talk, so I have to text him. I guess his age is catching.
Well,
And he
that's
lives
all
up,
of us.
he lives up in Indiana on top of the hill, and he got snowed in. So
Okay.
as soon as I can get it, I'll get it.
Well, that was quite a surprise that we heard from them that this man is, that we were being told we weren't gonna get it until 2023.
That's correct.
Yeah, so, and great that that we're gonna be getting it, and we'll have to outfit it with maybe some equipment off of the old foreigner van, and then lights and striping and so forth. That should put the corner in very, very good shape for a good many years in this county with that new vehicle. So just keep us posted on that, and let me know if there's anything I need to do. And we'll have to also at some point, once all that's done, is to surplus the old corner. So, yeah. Next up is Communications Committee, Squad Beavers.
February 14th, 6 p.m. via Zoom will be a meeting. I'll have that link sent over to your office as well as to the members.
That will be Telecommunications Committee meeting?
Correct.
Okay.
Quarterly.
What time will it be?
6 p.m.
6. So, okay. Next up, we have Jennifer Wilson and Danielle Story.
I'm gonna hang back here for the time being.
Is gonna sit in the back, and this is in regard to our ARPA funds, and KIPTA, of course, is contracted to manage those funds for us and do our reporting and so forth. Welcome. I think this is the first time we've met face to face. We've had quite a few communications over email and phone and so forth, but welcome to Spencer County, and we welcome you. So.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So I'll just present a very brief update on ARPA, and I believe you may have a printout of slides in the packet if you'd like to refer to those, or if you may want to do that later. So, can you hear it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So first, Treasury has released the final rule for the state and local funds in January. There are several significant changes from the interim final rule, and the final rule is effective April 1st, but you can take advantage of the new provisions now. And so looking at the second slide, the most significant change is that now, instead of performing a revenue loss calculation, recipients can elect a standard allowance of up to $10 million for revenue loss. That entire amount may be used for government services. So that's up to the total allocation. These include any service traditionally provided by a government unless Treasury has stated otherwise. And the prohibited uses are the same. They include pension fund deposits, debt service, financial reserves, and payment of settlements. So even though the new final rule affords a lot of flexibility, we've been cautioned by several sources that this is not Wild West. There will be reporting requirements. There will be procurement requirements. And Kentucky League of Cities has advised that large capital projects for general economic development are not allowed. So on the third page, the final rule has clarified some aspects of premium pay. So now no justification for higher pay is required for an additional category of workers. It may not be paid to volunteers. There are some additional eligible water and sewer projects, including lead remediation, culvert repair, residential well projects, and certain dam and reservoir projects. On the fourth page, in the category of response to the pandemic, there are new requirements for capital expenditures. And for projects over $1 million, a written justification is required, and there are numerous requirements for that. And there are also new provisions for restoring public sector capacity. That includes hiring and worker retention incentives, but certain conditions have got to be met. And we've received conflicting advice from various sources as to whether capital projects or salary increases that are in the category of government services from revenue loss must also comply with these justifications and conditions, so we don't know yet. A number of items in the final rule are still unclear, and Treasury continues to issue additional guidance, and we are tracking that closely. I had also sent over some sheets of tips on procurement, and I'm not sure if those are included in your packet, and we don't need to go over procurement in detail, but I just do want to note that there are local, county and state requirements as well as federal requirements. The county's adopted a procurement code, I believe in chapter 6 of the administrative code, and you have small purchase procedures and then larger procedures, and also have to follow the state laws on competitive sealed bidding. And then on top of that, there are federal requirements. Everything should be documented. The city, I know has a code of ethics, but the federal funding guidelines may require additional conflict of interest provisions. So the county attorney could take a look at that and make sure everything is included that needs to be in there. And so on top of the county and state requirements, the federal requirements have, the federal procurement requirements allow non-competitive methods only for single source items or a public emergency, which doesn't include the pandemic. And then there are different procedures for very small purchases under $10,000, purchases between $10,000 and $30,000, and then of course sealed bids over $30,000. And so it would just be important to keep all these things in mind before starting to hire consultants and so on to embark upon large projects. So that concludes the very brief update, and please let us know now or at any time if you have any questions.
Does anyone have any questions?
I do.
All right.
You said the Kentucky League of Cities did not approve of, I missed that. What was that?
Okay, what they have said is not allowed is large capital projects for general economic development, such as a stadium.
Okay. And funding for our Chamber of Commerce's economic development efforts, would that be an allowable expenditure?
So previously, those were disallowed and they just weren't allowed. Now with under government services, that's open, there's more flexibility, but it's also vaguer. And I think no one has come down and said, no authority has said, yes, now you can do economic development. So we're hoping that the Treasury will issue a new set of frequently asked questions that addresses that. You might want to reach out to KCO and see what they think about that. It may depend on the actual, certainly not a capital project, but to the extent it could be demonstrated to be a government service, that it's a possibility, but I would want some assurance.
In general, Judge, we're under the guidance that any general economic development is still not considered a government service. Now, had the court always allocated in their general fund every year a line item that went to the Chamber of Commerce, if that was a consistent thing that occurred, you could probably make the case that it's a general government service that this court has always done. But beyond that, that's where it gets sticky. So we're trying to get some clarification on that. But in general, you cannot do any general economic development.
Okay, so essentially the smaller counties like Spencer County, our entire allocation is $3.758 million. Mm-hmm. That entire $3.758 million can be claimed as lost revenue under the new guidance, and but yet we, as you said, this is not the Wild West. We can't just go out and spend it. So obviously, with your all's guidance, we are going to rely heavily on your all's guidance on these things, and that might have to be repeated a time or two. But we want to be cautious. To my knowledge, I don't believe that we have actually allocated any of our ARPA money. We have pledged $500,000 toward broadband expansion. Did check with Spectrum late last week to see if anything was moving on that. The applications are in at Kentucky Infrastructure Authority, and so there's a whole lot of people across the state, I think, anxiously awaiting the decisions that come out of that body. So that's one pledge, I guess, of $500,000. But the other thing that I'm going to be, and the court is going to be looking for guidance on, is drawing that second tranche out. I don't know, whether that would be advisable to do that under this court, or obviously come January of 2023, there will be a new court in place, and some of those decisions are going to be, if not most of them, left to the new court. So there are some things that we may want to consider, but as pointed out, we can't use it to, of course, we have no debt, but you can't use it to reduce your debt burden, and you can't bank it up in a rainy day fund. So it is going to behoove us, and there's some opportunities. One thing is potentially, and I'm not speaking for the court, I'm just asking as a something that I've worked on for, gosh, I guess since I came into office, is an update of our courthouse facilities. I'm not sure where that's going to fall in the current General Assembly, whether we're going to get approval for design work, or whether that project will be able to move forward a little bit. We're certainly not going to get approval for construction, but I see a need for land that would be in conjunction with that project. So I'd be curious to know if we could use that ARPA money to purchase land for a courthouse improvement project. But that's something we can discuss as time moves on. So, does anybody have any other questions?
Take, for example, we want to build a structure, okay? And we don't build it because of economic development, but economic development does come from it. Would it be that when we build this structure, we talk about it as whatever it is, and not being an economic development tool, but economic development will come because of it?
I think we need more detail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what Jim is getting at is the potential to build something on the order of a community center that could be a multi-function facility that, as a result of that, could potentially increase economic development, but that's not, it would be more of a multi-purpose type of a facility. There's other capital improvement projects that we might want to look at and determine whether they're applicable or not, and that is, I've said for some time, I think the current ambulance barn over at EMS certainly needs improvement and expansion to accommodate more ambulances. The sheriff, I don't know if you've gone any further, Sheriff, with a carport type thing for your trailer and your boat. Personally, I think Spencer County's better than that. I think that a facility to store that boat and that trailer indoors with some of this other equipment would be more appropriate. But so capital improvement project, maybe a new, potentially, and I know there's going to be differing opinions around the stadium, but potentially a new ambulance barn for EMS and upgrading that. Obviously the courthouse project, and some people still want to talk about maybe an animal shelter. I think that's probably off the table for the time being. Seemed like there was another project, more
And vehicles and equipment be bought with this money.
Yeah, vehicles and equipment would be another thing, because, you know, it's something that, you know, can we budget some of this ARPA money to upgrade sheriff's vehicles, or purchase an ambulance? We've already bid that ambulance out and got an order in. Can we use ARPA money to pay for it?
So Treasury has given as an example of government services the purchase of fire trucks and police vehicles. So those are, and then KLC has given opinions about similar city vehicles. And I can look at that list and let you know the specific list. I think they've mentioned garbage trucks and salt trucks, but I want to look at that and confirm. So, as well as other examples of government services include general government administrative facilities as well, although it's not very specific there in exactly what can be done. Although KLC again has advised that a remodeling could fit under government services.
Possibly road improvements.
Yes, road building maintenance, and maintenance
Okay,
are
that could be
explicitly included.
important as it relates to what Travis is working on, so.
Oh, and as for the bid, you were saying you bid an ambulance, I think. So if no cost was incurred before March, I believe it's March 3rd of last year.
If what now?
If no cost was incurred before March 3rd of last year. So you can't look back at any project you were thinking about before March 3rd. So, but if the bid was obtained after that,
Before March 3rd, I don't know, that being after March 3rd.
Yeah.
So our ambulance could qualify, which, this is gonna be important as we, obviously, as we get into our budget process.
March 3rd of which year? This year or 2021?
2021.
Okay. Was the coroner's vehicle we just purchased qualified?
I have not seen anybody list specifically a coroner's vehicle.
But in general, if it's used to provide a government
Yeah,
service.
we've been ordering
it's
down
okay.
before. The market.
What'd you say?
It's like, but in general, thinking about it, if it's used to provide a government service, so your EMS, your fire, your public works, those sorts of things, that is, you can buy, equipment, vehicles, maintenance for those purposes. That all falls under the term of the umbrella of that government service. So all the stuff that you're all mentioning seems to be falling within that umbrella. You just need to make sure that you're going about it properly procurement-wise. And getting adequate quotes or going to bid if necessary,
What about the possibility of fiscal court borrowing ARPA funds? Again, I'm looking forward to preparing the next budget, and the court has approved some very substantial increases. We're going to take up some more later this meeting, and I'm not sure I'm not sure. It's going to be a real test to be able to do that without additional revenue, which we opted not to do. So anyway, I'll have to get together with you all on that and see how we can use that potentially just a temporary use to be able to balance our budget and prepare the new court for their responsibility. So, all right, any other questions? If not,
You mentioned that we might have to change language in our administrative code in the procurement section.
I haven't reviewed them, but the uniform guidance governing procurement and other issues surrounding federal funding requires that certain language about conflict of interest and discipline of employees, standards for the conduct of employees have to be included. I don't know that anything you have in place needs to be changed, but you may just adopt something additional.
okay. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Next up, in old business, got a correction of a pay rate as it relates to EMS and deputy clerks. When we approved our pay rates for the county employees, the spreadsheet that was used, we've got an unusual circumstance with one employee that works both for EMS and also as a deputy county clerk. And the spreadsheet inadvertently picked up the pay rate at the county clerk level instead of the EMS level. We had no, on that spreadsheet, no county clerk deputies or sheriff deputies. They're fee offices, and they do their own thing in terms of pay rates. So the fact that this one employee is an employee of both, it picked up the wrong pay rate at, I think, $15.50 or something, and that was in error. It should have picked up the EMS pay rate, and just need a motion to correct that to a pay rate. Should be 15.
Give me 1 second, Judge.
Bear with me just a second.
1570, I think.
1570, I believe you're right, yeah.
Is it not in the packet? That's not that much.
I'm sorry.
Is the
Megan.
correction not in the packet? Is the correction not in the packet?
It
It's
should be 1445.
1445, that's what I
Correct,
thought.
with the new rate of 7%.
Okay, so
From what to that?
it was 13,
1350. 1350 is what it was,
1350.
yeah.
This
Okay.
is Miller Flosson, by the way, she's
Now, the
the
one you're talking about.
deputy
Yeah.
in question.
It's just unusual.
What's that in your
She
note?
works for both, so, I just need a motion to correct that pay rate to
1445.
1445 for Miller
Motion to approve.
at EMS.
This is her EMS pay rate.
EMS pay
Only.
rate, that's correct, yeah.
Motion.
We've got a motion to correct it, swear
Second.
Mike Moody, swear Brett Beaverson seconds. And not sure if there needs to be more discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. That pay rate is now corrected, and I know that you had sent over a memo to increase the county clerk deputy pay rate. Is that something that still stands, or were you doing that based on our error, or I just need
I've
to...
already talked.
You've already
about it.
talked?
Mhm.
Okay, I didn't realize, I'm sorry, okay. All right. So, with that being done, thank you all. We're going to move on to elected official pay rates and wages. Those have to be adjusted prior to, is there a date certain that they have to be done just before they don't take effect until the new court or new elected officials come into office, so.
We can't make it retroactive.
No. So I know that the pay rate committee has looked at that and has got
If the
some,
court wants to accept this as a proposal, that's fine. If the court would like to have more discussion and offer varying opinions, that's okay as well. You see in the first column on that cover sheet, shows what the current rate of pay is for coroner, magistrate, and jailer. Of course, magistrates also receive an additional $3,600 for committee work. And then you see what the proposed increases are, and in the last column, what the difference is. On the very last cell is the total cost of the increase would be $15,450,
beginning in the new.
beginning January 1,
Yeah.
2023.
There's some you know, we can go ahead and adopt this if you'd like, but there are some others that I think maybe need to be looked at. I know the county clerk wanted to talk about increasing the,
We have nothing to do with that.
for Board of Elections or planning and zoning members that, there's others, the Ethics Commission, you know, are we,
The way it's presented by the county clerk is the way I believe that one takes place. That was not part of this task.
okay, I'm just, rather than do these one at a time, I just wondered if maybe we shouldn't look at all of them. And I guess we'd like to have some guidance from you on that. We're gonna increase it for members serving on the Board of Elections. Should it also be increased for the Ethics Commission? Should it also be increased for Planning and
It's not
Zoning
the
Board
Board
of
of Elections.
Adjustments? What else?
What'd you say, Lynn?
It's not the Board of Elections that I'm asking for a pay
Oh, I
rate.
thought the
No.
Board of
No,
Elections.
it's
I'm
not.
sorry.
Poll workers.
It's for the
Poll workers.
precinct
Okay.
election officers who work the early voting hours.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was for Board, I
No,
stand
I
corrected.
think the cover sheet specified that.
Yeah, okay, so that would be something that, the court's gonna have to approve that, but, should we look at these other, pay rates for serving on some of these boards and commissions and, or for poll workers, we would wanna,
So let's just follow the agenda and move on. And we
Sure.
can address those at another time.
okay, so.
Would it be
you wanna go ahead
prudent to see what our carryover amount is in the new fiscal year and then address it? Or is there a timeline?
and,
I think it has to be set, I mean, first on these elected official salaries.
by May 1st.
Okay.
And we're, on this, it's coroner, magistrate, and jailer. County attorney is certainly another elected official that may or may not need to be considered. Trying to think if there's any others.
I think that's what
So we can adopt these three if you like, or if you want, maybe.
It's up to the court.
I agree with Tim, let's just vote on what we've got in front of us, and as we get additional information in our packets to come, we can make those decisions.
Okay. What we doing?
Did you all give those other officers any consideration at all?
No.
Okay.
Didn't look at it.
Okay. Well, we will, right? We can?
We can, I didn't know his isn't already set.
It is.
By the state?
No,
No?
no. It's set by the county.
Okay. My hair.
Mm-hmm.
Our hair. I'll put Mike in on yours.
So, yeah, if you all don't mind, just kind of take a look at maybe any others that maybe, I mean, we can go ahead and adopt these, but I'll just,
Get them a list of who they need to, take a look at, and I'm sure that.
It's a short list, huh?
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, no, it's not a
just
long
couple
list.
officers.
and, my question is, as a court, do we want to increase, for example, the boards and commissions and so forth? And it's fine if not, I mean, I just think that while we're doing this, if there's adjustments needs to be made there, maybe we should do it. We can go ahead and act on these three. All I need is a motion to adopt the new pay rates as recommended by the Wages Committee.
Make a motion, to go ahead and adopt it.
All right,
I'll second that.
and we'll take the coroner pay to $8,050, magistrates at $10,200, and jailer to $50,400. And we've got a motion and a second, any other discussion? Call the roll.
Square Travis,
I'm going to abstain, because I am running for reelection, and I don't think it'd be proper for me to vote for a pay raise, even if I don't get elected.
Square Jerry Moody,
Yes.
Squire Brewer,
Yes.
Squire Mike Moody,
Yes.
Squire Beaverson,
Yes,
Judge Riley.
Yes. Okay, motion passes.
Just when you send him send them the list, don't forget there is a deputy coroner as well.
Who's gonna generate this list?
I thought they were.
I don't need a list,
Okay.
I just,
No.
okay.
Okay, so just forward me a summary sheet, we'll get on the next agenda. Thereafter, Moses, but that makes sense. Next up, I'm not skipping anything again. New business EMS generator project, it's in your packet. Just need approval from the court to move forward with, we have to bid that, so just need approval to put the,
Motion to approve.
get a motion to approve bidding our generator, EMS generator project. And
Is this the one that we've already got approved for?
That is, FEMA, we put in the grant for it on November of 2015, and by the time they approved the grant, the prices had all gone up, so we had to go back out for additional funding, and they just approved additional funding, so.
And it was so old that the prices had gone up
Correct.
substantially, so then we had to go back and ask for an increase from FEMA. That's what FEMA just approved, that increase.
6.5.
Now we're ready to move forward, hopefully, with the project.
I will second the motion.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next up is contract mowing in parks and county roads, Squire Travis.
Yeah, you see in your packet, I would like the court to look into contracting out the mowing, the grass in the two county parks and the county roadways that we have to private contractors and get bids for those to see if the county can save money by contracting these out instead of doing it in-house.
All right.
Just wanted to see what the court's attitude on that is, whether we even want to, this is just asking that we look into it and sit, if there's savings, fine, if there's not, then we can go run that level.
Well, it's maybe not as easy as comparing apples to apples on that because of the nature of what some of these folks do. Well, you know, our public works or parks department is down basically one full-time person. Hopefully the increase in pay rates is going to help to be able to try to find some folks that will go to work for us, over recycle and public works and the road department. It's just been such a difficult task of trying to find people to fill these positions with. So I think what Squire Travis wanted to explore is what about the possibility of contracting out, having our park, Ray Jewell Waterford Park mowed by a private contractor, and having a private contractor to mow all the county maintained roads. My discussion with Squire Travis is that if we're gonna put that out for bids, that I'm gonna task him or someone on this board.
I will be happy to gather that information and.
Let me finish if you don't mind. Task with writing the bid specs, so that people know what they're bidding on and everybody can bid on the same thing. So do we want to bid Ray Jewell Park separately from Waterford Park and potentially have two folks doing that? How often are we gonna mow? What, is there a land area that we need to consider? So I think to get with Brian on the parks and to get with Todd on the county roads to develop some type of bid specs would be appropriate, so.
Is it? And they,
Yes.
this has already been in the works. I spoke with you 3 weeks ago. I've been talking to Brian, about getting the number of man hours that it takes, what needs to be mowed, what needs to be trimmed, in those two areas. I spoke with him again this morning, he's getting all that information together. We do need all that information to be able to put out a bid. You know, if Squire Travis wants to work on that, I can give him that information, and,
Good deal.
or Brian can get him that information either way. It has been in the works. It's just, it's not an easy thing to do to come up with all the numbers.
No, and I think that, you know, part of what you're gonna run into and discover some of the concerns, for example, if we contract, for example, with county road mowing, you know, do we, or even the parks, you know, they do other things. You can't have a private contractor say, oh, we're gonna contract with you to mow Rageville Park. But by the way, we need you to come down and clear ice off of the sidewalk in front of the fiscal court meeting, or we need file cabinets moved over to the county clerk's office. You can't have that contractor bid to where they can do that work. So having your own employees and the flexibility of using those employees, there's a lot to be said for that. But anyway, just continue to explore that, and we'll, I'm sure, come to the right decision.
Another thing, Judge, on the road department, those guys that mow the roads during the summertime are the same guys that drive the salt trucks or road clearing in the wintertime.
That's exactly right.
You know, I'm not knocking it, but I understand we need to pay attention to what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because we get more complaints out of snow on the road than what we can with grass growing on the side.
Yeah. Although those complaints do come in too. If they don't get out there and mow, we can get those complaints. So, if it's okay with the court, we'll move on. County clerk website hosting invoice, I think Squire Beaverson recognized that maybe that was a spam email or something.
Disregarded.
Disregarded. So we will disregard
Didn't
that.
come from me.
Board of Elections request, that is request for the county clerk, and I apologize, that's for the poll workers.
Can I clarify just a little bit?
Sure, go ahead.
That's for the poll workers who work the early voting locations, not for the ones that work on election day. That is solely for the people who work 8 hours, 10 hours. The hours have not been determined yet. But in keeping with the other raises, I guess they're considered county employees, in keeping with the other raises that the court approved at the last meeting and before that, I think they deserve a raise in pay also. I don't have the number of hours they're gonna work. They're probably gonna work a minimum of 8 hours a day. We're required and mandated to have 3 days of early voting. So that would be 24 hours per worker, 4 workers at 2 locations, which is 8 workers. So 8 times 24, $2 an hour increase. So it's not a lot of money, and they provide a service to the county that the citizens really appreciate.
I make a motion that we raise the pay rates to the early voting poll workers to $16 an hour.
We got a motion. I'll second it.
Well, it's not a lot of, we're not talking about a lot of money. It is nice to have the numbers showing, well, what is the extra amount going to cost?
Well, we don't know the exact hours yet. That's not been determined, but I'm saying probably 8 hours per person for the 3 days. It's 24. I mean, you got to calculate it.
So we do know that it's 3 days.
It's got to be 3 days. We don't know if it's going to be 8 hours or 10 hours, but 24 times 8 times 2. 24 times 8 times 2. It's a $2 an hour raise, so. pay somebody better than they get now.
Well, it's gonna be $224.
So it's not all money.
No.
Okay.
No. So the motion is to increase the pay rate for election officers at the early voting location. What about all the other election officers?
They get paid a set rate, and we'll come back and have a look at that, because
Okay.
I think they deserve a little bit of a raise as well.
Okay.
They work a 12-hour day, and it actually turns out to be 14 to 16-hour day by the time they set up, they take the equipment down and bring it back, so,
Have you got
I'll get that.
maybe you've already said this, I apologize, the number of early voting election officers that you need?
there's 2 locations, at 4 officers, at least 4 officers at each location, so there's 8 total, 2 locations, 24 hours.
Would it be safe to say it could be 8 to maybe as many as 12, because you're gonna need some alternates and...
It could be,
Yeah.
but, you know, they're all gonna
Okay.
get paid the same thing, and I don't plan on having more than 4 at a time. They seem to handle the number of voters just fine with
Good.
4 workers.
The 2 early voting locations, is that, where are those? located?
Library and the Elk Creek Fire Station.
Okay. Okay,
Our
so we got a
plan is to
motion and a
approve.
second to increase the pay rate for early precinct election officers for early voting locations from $14 to $16 an hour. Motion by Squire Brewer, I seconded that motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next up is,
Hey Doug, did you forget me?
I'm sorry, I did. I'm glad you said something. I apologize. The sheriff had asked to address the court for a couple of minutes, and I intended to do that under communications with members, but
Obviously, you was not at the GOP dinner the other night.
he said 2 seconds. Excuse me, that's corrected to 2 seconds.
Obviously, you was not at the GOP dinner the other night. We all know that he can't speak for 2 seconds.
I'm just gonna sit down for that. I do wanna say that y'all got them red balls, I'm packing more than that, you know, y'all.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Y'all wanna start just throwing them red balls, bring it on. No, what I wanna talk about is, of course, we're always looking at vehicles. I did talk to Gary Barmore, which, you know, is who we deal with, fantastic guy. I just called him randomly and said, when are you gonna possibly get any F-150 police packages? He said, until you order one or spec one out, we never are. So what I want the liberty to do is go to Gary Barmore and sit down with him and spec out an F-150 police package vehicle with what we want on it. Of course, we'll try to, you know, one thing that we noticed the other night, we definitely need heated meters. You know, it's just those little things. But I want to get a bid on what an F-150 police package is. Don't know how long it'll take us to get it. I just wanted to get started with the process, and then, you know, I've got 3 Ram trucks left in the fleet. The one I'm driving probably has the lowest miles on it. I'm thinking it's in the 80,000s. I've got one that's 166,000. A K9 truck, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I'm not really sure. I'd really like to replace all 3 of them trucks. Maybe not all in 1 year, and there's no surety I'll be the next sheriff. But I do want to start the process of getting these online. So I didn't want to be down there getting bids and quotes and stuff, and then y'all saying, what are you doing? You know, so I just wanted to talk to y'all about at least starting to look at that possibility.
And that could be paid with ARPA.
Well, I see, it says something about 3.758 million. Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
we're gonna take guidance on that, but,
Yes,
anyway, it is something that we need to
And it might be a perfect time to do it. I mean, whether I'm the sheriff or someone else is the sheriff. And then our fleet would be in fantastic shape, really.
Right.
You know, and we're not bad shape now, you know.
Well, it was the other virus, coronavirus.
Right. That we
Relief funds that we've gotten before,
Those full,
CARES money that
Right.
helped to upgrade our fleet over at the sheriff's office and some other vehicles if we needed. But
So if it's okay with y'all, I'm just gonna go spec one out, get the price of it, bring it back to you, let you see it, and then you can critique any add-ons that I
it would
put
be
on.
something that would be subject to bidding,
Yes.
competitive bidding, so that we are,
But I've gotta get a kind of a spec sheet made up so I can let them bid on it.
right.
And the preparer of that, under federal guidelines, cannot then bid.
You know what?
A consultant who prepares specifications or studies of the bid can't then compete for bid generally under federal guidelines.
So can I get information from any dealer and then sit down and make my own?
Yeah, you would go to an independent person who doesn't then want to put in a bid.
That makes that kind of difficult.
It does, and I can look into it further if it would apply specifically to the amount, the dollar amount that you're looking at. Sort of generally under competitive bidding.
In order to be on state contract, what's already on state contract?
It may be a sole source. If you can only go to one source, that might qualify as a sole source procurement, possibly. We can look into the details of it for you.
There's several Ford dealers that have the master agreement with the
One
state.
in Lexington was one of them. They are
Yeah.
a pain in the hammy to deal with.
Okay, and then the
Oh,
other.
would you agree with it, Jerry?
Jim Short.
Do what? Would you agree with the place in Lexington being hard to deal with?
I'll tell you, we got a equipment committee that's supposed to do this.
Yes, and I was gonna say,
If money comes from fiscal court, and we're going to do away with the equipment committee,
No.
and that's fine with me. And it's a big load off my shoulder.
I was just trying to take part of the load off your shoulders, but I'm here to take direction from y'all.
And this government, the state contract, I've proven over and over, is the biggest bunch of bull that's ever been created. You'll pay more buying on the state contract than what you do going out and getting bids. Yeah. So we need to make up our mind what we're gonna do. I personally, I do not care.
yeah, well, I think that we
Y'all
have
jumped
to.
out, y'all jumped out of the equipment committee, and I just quit on it, because y'all
Welcome back.
overruled me on a fire truck, but y'all spent $50-some-odd thousand on taxpayers' money that should not been spent. And y'all were not listening, y'all were knee-jerk on stuff.
Okay.
And I'm kinda tired of it.
Okay, so, let's see, I'm trying to think, who can we assign that to? How about Squire Jerry Moody, take over that, and would you work with him and
Sure.
come back to us?
I work together.
I think we have to be
Believe it or
careful.
not, I actually get along with the old two.
Yeah,
Gentlemen.
yeah, well,
They got out
you know,
like.
a little bit of respect goes a whole long way, so.
Yeah.
We appreciate any respect that you can give any of us at this table, so thank you in advance for that. So, with that, anything else?
No,
2 seconds.
no, that's the only thing I wanted.
All right,
Talk about
monthly
it,
financial
we'll
statement
get together.
is in your packet.
Okay, thank you.
Monthly financial statement is in everybody's packets. Next up is invoices, bills, transfers, I'll entertain a motion.
I don't think the monthly finance statement wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't? We
I
will.
think it was left from the last agenda, that's
Oh.
in there.
Oh,
I've got
okay.
them done, but they're not in the packet, so.
Okay, so scratch that, that is not in the packet. That was a leftover from the last meeting. So invoices, bills, and transfers.
Motion to pay the bills, make the transfer.
For Mike Moody,
Second.
Travis. All right. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next up, is there anything else to come before the court? Motion to adjourn. We've got a motion to adjourn. Squire Beaverson seconded that.
Yes, he did.
We sure did. And all those in favor say aye. Aye. We are now adjourned. Can I eat my apple? Oh, that's not an apple.
Make sure you turn off the microphones, please.
I'm sorry.
Came outside and found him lying in the street. So I got called. Where's somebody? Oh, okay. Somebody came out.
She's headed down that red scooter right down the one. Yeah, okay.
Oh, sure. Right, right.
I don't know, but I'll check in with her.
Well, that's why I came.
I think that's how we drafted our resolution. We check with Rick and see what he says. Because I'm sure they're gonna
Hopefully, we got one for that. How are you?
Yeah, we pretty much are using model codes. So, now I did not Friday morning, for instance. Jefferson County area, Full County area. Yeah,
Just figuring out since we did this, we're going to
it's like our big drive out. We have our watchdog guys, veteran Anyway, yeah, I'll stay in touch.
All set, love you. All ones that haven't got
No, you're right. That's right.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I hope to get them one this afternoon.
Maybe it's that the thing.
A lot of things off.
I just wanted a reality check.
It's still on right now.
Oh, buddy, well, I know about that. Yeah. We're gonna win, baby. This is not a drug deal. This goes to the GOP. Here you go, sweetheart, I'm gonna get it for you.
Okay.
The guy that cuts off.
Congratulations.
I knew the light was still on.